Listen to me now. I have spent the better part of my life studying success, not theorizing about it, not guessing at it, studying it. I have sat with Andrew Carnegie in his library. I have walked the factory floors with Henry Ford. I have watched Thomas Edison work through the night when every rational person said he should quit. And I discovered something that changed everything I understood about achievement. The difference between the person who succeeds and the person who fails has nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with luck, nothing to do with background or blessing. The difference is this. One person decided and the other merely wished. You see, wishing is passive. It asks the universe to deliver. But decision is active. It demands that you deliver. When I interviewed over 500 of the most successful people in America, every single one of them told me the same story in different words. They spoke of a moment when they stopped hoping things would change and started forcing things to move. That moment, my friend, is where your life divides. Before the decision, you are blown by circumstance. After the decision, you become the circumstance. Carnegie told me something I will never forget. He said, "Hill, show me a person who knows exactly what they want, who has written it down, who thinks about it every waking moment, and who is willing to pay any price to get it, and I will show you someone who cannot be stopped." That is definiteness of purpose, not a vague dream, not a fuzzy hope, a burning, all-consuming demand that organizes every thought, every action, every moment of your existence around a single target. Most people never decide. They spend their entire lives in the fog of indecision, wondering why nothing changes. They say they want success, but they have not defined it. They say they want wealth, but they have not determined the exact amount. They say they want to grow, but they have not identified what that means. And because they have not decided, they cannot act with power. Indecision is the seedling of fear, and fear, unchecked, grows into the tree of failure. You must burn your bridges. Edison did not keep a backup plan when he bet everything on the electric light. Ford did not hedge his bets when he decided to mass produce the automobile. Carnegie did not play it safe when he built his steel empire. They decided, and then they closed every escape route behind them. That is how you manufacture certainty from doubt. You leave yourself no option but to succeed. Now, I want you to understand something critical about the human mind. Your mind is the most powerful instrument ever created, but it is also the most dangerous. Left undisciplined, it will betray you. It will create excuses where none exist. It will magnify obstacles that are insignificant. It will convince you that comfort is safety when comfort is actually slow death. Your mind, unless commanded by you, will command you. And if your mind is in control, you are not. I learned about autosuggestion from studying men like Charles M. Schwab and F.W. Woolworth. These men understood that the thoughts you repeat to your subconscious mind, whether positive or negative, become the blueprint for your reality. Your subconscious does not judge. It does not question. It simply accepts what you feed it and then works day and night to make it real. If you feed it fear, it will find evidence of danger everywhere. If you feed it faith, it will discover opportunity in every challenge. This is not mysticism. This is mechanical. Your subconscious mind controls your habits, your emotions, your automatic responses. When you deliberately feed it instructions through autosuggestion, you reprogram your entire operating system. Every morning before the world demands your attention, you must speak to your subconscious. Tell it what you want. Tell it who you are becoming. Tell it that you're persistent, disciplined, and unstoppable. Repeat these statements with emotion, with feeling, with absolute conviction. Do this every single day, and you will begin to notice something extraordinary. Your actions will start to align with your commands without conscious effort. But understand this clearly. Autosuggestion without action is useless. It is not enough to tell yourself you are disciplined. You must prove it. Every time you act in alignment with your stated purpose, you send a powerful signal to your subconscious. You say, "I mean what I say." And over time, the gap between what you claim and what you do disappears entirely. You become what you have been declaring. Here is the formula I want you to write down. First, fix in your mind the exact thing you want. Not approximately, exactly. If it is money, write down the precise amount. If it is a skill, define the level of mastery. Second, determine exactly what you are willing to give in return for what you want. There is no such thing as something for nothing. And third, establish a definite date by which you will possess what you desire. Fourth, create a plan and begin immediately to put it into action. Do not wait for the plan to be perfect. Begin. Fifth, write all of this down in a clear statement. Read it aloud twice daily, once before sleeping and once upon waking. Sixth, as you read, see yourself already in possession of what you want. Feel it, believe it. This is not theory. This is the exact process used by every person I studied who built something significant. They did not drift into success. They designed it, and then they disciplined themselves to follow the design. Now, let me speak plainly about discipline because this is where most people fail. Discipline is not punishment. It is not restriction. Discipline is freedom. When you master yourself, when you learn to command your actions, regardless of how you feel, you become free from the tyranny of emotion. Most people are slaves to their moods. When they feel motivated, they work. When they do not, they drift. And because feelings are unreliable, their results are unreliable. But the person who operates on principle rather than emotion, that person becomes a force of nature. I watched Thomas Edison work. He failed 10,000 times trying to create a practical incandescent light bulb. 10,000 times. Do you think he felt motivated every day? Do you think he woke up excited to face another failure? Of course not. But he had made a decision. He had committed to a definite purpose. And because his purpose was definite, his action was automatic. He did not ask himself if he felt like working. He simply worked. That is the mark of a disciplined mind. Henry Ford faced ridicule when he announced his intention to build an affordable automobile for the masses. People called him foolish. They said it could not be done. They told him to give up and accept reality. But Ford had already decided. And when you have truly decided, the opinions of others become background noise. You hear them, but they do not move you. You have locked on to your target, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will pull you off course. The question you must ask yourself is this: have you decided, or are you still wishing? Because if you are still wishing, you are wasting your life. Wishing is what weak people do when they want results, but refuse to pay the price. Decision is what strong people do when they are willing to sacrifice everything that does not serve their purpose. Here is what I want you to do right now. Stop reading for a moment and answer this question with total honesty. What do I want? Not what do you think you should want, not what others expect you to want. What do you actually desperately, hungrily want? Write it down. Make it specific. Make it real. And then ask yourself the second question. Am I willing to pay the price for it? Because everything has a price. Success demands time. It demands focus. It demands that you give up comfort, entertainment, and the approval of people who do not understand your vision. Are you willing to pay it? If the answer is yes, then you have just made a decision. And that decision, if you honor it with daily action, will change the entire trajectory of your life. But if the answer is anything less than yes, then you have not decided. You are still wishing. Wishing never built anything worth having. Let me tell you about persistence, because this is where the battle is truly won or lost. I have seen men with extraordinary talent fail because they lacked persistence. And I have seen men with ordinary ability rise to the top because they simply refused to quit. Persistence is to character what carbon is to steel. It is the element that transforms average into exceptional. When I studied the lives of successful people, I discovered that every single one of them faced a moment of crisis, a moment when everything seemed to collapse, a moment when quitting would have been perfectly reasonable. Edwin C. Barnes wanted to work with Thomas Edison. He had no money, no connections, no formal education. He traveled to Edison's laboratory as a freight train hopper, looking more like a tramp than a business partner. Edison's staff laughed at him. They thought he was delusional, but Barnes had made a decision, and he had something more valuable than money or credentials. He had persistence backed by definite purpose. Barnes did not get what he wanted immediately. He spent years working for Edison in a minor capacity, waiting for his opportunity. Lesser men would have given up. They would have said, "This is not working. I should try something else." But Barnes understood a principle that most people never grasp. Temporary defeat is not permanent failure unless you accept it as such. He persisted, and eventually his opportunity came. He became Edison's partner in distributing the Edison dictating machine and made a fortune. Why? Because he was still there when others had quit. You see, persistence is not about blind stubbornness. It is about sustained effort directed toward a definite purpose. When you know exactly what you want and you have decided you will have it, persistence becomes automatic. You do not need to force yourself to continue. You cannot imagine stopping. The purpose pulls you forward even when the path is dark. But most people quit too soon. They quit 3 feet from gold. I wrote about R.U. Darby, a man who learned this lesson the hard way. Darby and his uncle struck gold during the gold rush. They invested everything into mining equipment and began extracting ore. Then suddenly the vein of gold disappeared. They drilled and drilled but found nothing. Discouraged and broke, they sold their equipment to a junk man for pennies and went home in defeat. That junk man brought in a mining engineer who understood geology. The engineer discovered that the vein of gold continued just 3 feet from where Darby had stopped drilling. 3 feet. The junk man became wealthy from Darby's gold mine. And Darby learned the most valuable lesson of his life. Never quit just because you cannot see the results yet. This is the test that separates winners from losers. Can you persist when there is no evidence that your efforts are working? Can you continue when every reasonable person tells you to stop? Can you maintain faith when the circumstances scream doubt? If you can, you possess the quality that guarantees success. Now, I must speak to you about pain because there is no way around this truth. Achievement costs something. It costs sweat, time, comfort, and often the approval of others. But understand what I am telling you. You will experience pain either way. You will feel the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Choose discipline because the pain of discipline weighs ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. I watch men in Carnegie's inner circle work 16-hour days while their competitors worked 8. I watched them sacrifice evenings and weekends while others relaxed. Were they suffering? In a sense, yes. But they were suffering with purpose. They were trading temporary discomfort for permanent gain. And when I visited them decades later, they were free, financially free, mentally free, free to live as they chose because they had paid the price when it mattered. Compare that to the men who chose comfort, the ones who said, I will start tomorrow. I will work hard next year. I will get serious eventually. Where are they now? Trapped in jobs they hate, trapped in financial struggle, trapped in regret. They avoided the pain of effort only to discover that the pain of regret is far worse. It is a silent, constant ache that never heals because the opportunity is past. You must make peace with discomfort. You must learn to see it not as your enemy, but as your teacher. Every time you feel resistance, every time you want to quit, every time your body screams for rest, that is the moment of growth. That is where your character is forged. Weak people run from that moment. Strong people run toward it because they know that on the other side of pain lies power. Here's what I want you to understand about the human body and mind. They are designed to protect you, not to push you. Your instincts will always choose safety over growth. That is why you feel tired when you should be working. That is why you feel doubt when you should be acting. Your primitive brain is trying to conserve energy and avoid risk. But if you obey those instincts, you will live a small life. You must override them. You must command yourself to move forward even when every fiber of your being resists. This is autosuggestion in action. When your body says, I'm tired, you respond with, my strength is limitless. I grow stronger with every challenge. When your mind whispers, this is too hard, you declare, I thrive in difficulty. Obstacles make me more powerful. You're not lying to yourself. You're instructing your subconscious to access reserves of strength it did not know existed. I learned this from observing athletes, soldiers, and explorers. They all discovered that the body can endure far more than the mind believes possible. When the mind says, I cannot continue, the body has only used about 40% of its capacity. The remaining 60% is locked behind a mental barrier. But when you train yourself to push through that barrier using autosuggestion and definite purpose, you access power you never knew you had. Now let me address the comfort zone because this is the invisible prison that holds most people captive. Comfort feels safe. It feels reasonable, but comfort is the enemy of growth. Nothing meaningful was ever achieved in comfort. Not one invention, not one fortune, not one transformation. They all required someone to step into the unknown, to face fear, to embrace uncertainty. Carnegie told me, Hill, the biggest mistake a young man can make is to seek security instead of opportunity. Those words changed my life. I realized I had been playing it safe, staying in familiar territory, avoiding anything that might fail. But success does not live in familiar territory. It lives on the edge, where risk and reward meet. Look at every person who built something significant. They left comfort behind. Ford left a secure job to build automobiles when everyone said it was foolish. Edison left stability to chase a vision that others called impossible. Carnegie left Scotland with nothing, knowing he might never return. They understood that comfort is a drug. It numbs you to your potential. It makes you weak. It convinces you that staying where you are is wisdom when it is actually cowardice. You must destroy your comfort zone deliberately. Every single day, do something that scares you. Make the call you have been avoiding. Start the project you have been delaying. Speak the truth you have been hiding. Each time you step beyond comfort, you expand your capacity. You teach your mind that fear is not a stop sign. It is a signal that you are growing. I want you to write down 3 things right now, 3 actions that would move you toward your definite purpose, but that you have been avoiding because they make you uncomfortable. Maybe it is asking for help. Maybe it is investing money in your vision. Maybe it is cutting ties with people who drain your energy. Whatever it is, write it down. And then do one of those things today, not tomorrow. Today, because every day you delay, your comfort zone grows stronger and you grow weaker. Here's the truth about consistency that most people miss. Consistency is not about massive action every day. It is about small, deliberate action every day. When I interviewed successful people, they did not tell me stories about heroic bursts of effort. They told me about routines, daily habits, simple disciplines repeated over years until they became automatic. Thomas Edison had a routine. Every morning he entered his laboratory at the same time. He worked in focused blocks. He took breaks at specific intervals. He did not wait for inspiration. He showed up and did the work whether he felt like it or not. That consistency, repeated over decades, produced over 1,000 patents. 1,000. Not because he was a genius, though he was intelligent, but because he showed up every single day. Ford had a routine. Carnegie had a routine. Every successful person I studied operated on systems, not feelings. They understood that motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel energized, other days you feel dead. But if you depend on motivation, your results will be as unpredictable as your mood. Discipline replaces motivation. Systems replace uncertainty. Here's the system I want you to implement starting tomorrow morning. Before you do anything else, before you check messages or read news or talk to anyone, spend 15 minutes on autosuggestion. Sit quietly, read your definite purpose statement aloud. Visualize yourself already in possession of what you want. Feel the emotions of achievement. See the details. Make it real in your mind. Then speak directly to your subconscious. Say, I am persistent. I am disciplined. I am focused on my definite purpose. Nothing can stop me. Repeat this until you feel it in your bones. After autosuggestion, identify the one action that would move you closest to your goal today, not 10 actions. 1, the most important one, and commit to completing it before you do anything else. This is called eating the frog. Do the hardest thing first when your willpower is strongest, because if you complete that one critical action, even if nothing else goes right that day, you have won. Before you sleep, review your day. Ask yourself 3 questions. Did I act in alignment with my definite purpose today? What did I learn? What will I do better tomorrow? Write the answers down. This nightly review programs your subconscious to process solutions while you sleep. You will wake up with clarity and energy because your mind has been working on your problems all night. This system takes 30 minutes per day, 15 in the morning, 15 at night. But those 30 minutes repeated consistently will produce more results than months of random, unfocused effort. Why? Because consistency compounds. Small actions, repeated daily, create momentum. And momentum is the force that makes achievement inevitable. Now let me speak to you about permission, because this is where many people sabotage themselves. They wait for someone to give them permission to pursue their dreams. They wait for approval from family, friends, employers, society. But here is what I discovered. No one is coming to give you permission. And even if they did, their permission is worthless. The only permission that matters is the permission you give yourself. When I told people I was going to study successful people and write about the principles of achievement, they laughed. They said, "Who are you to write such a book? You have no credentials. You have no wealth. You have not achieved anything significant." And they were right. I had nothing, but I had made a decision. Carnegie had challenged me to spend 20 years studying success, and I had accepted. I did not need anyone's approval. I needed only my own commitment. Barnes did not ask Edison for permission to become his partner. He simply decided he would, and then he acted as if it were inevitable. Ford did not seek approval from the horse and buggy manufacturers before revolutionizing transportation. He saw what was possible and moved toward it regardless of opposition. Every pioneer, every innovator, every leader faced resistance, and they all had to give themselves permission to proceed anyway. You must understand something crucial about human nature. Most people are terrified of change. They are comfortable with the status quo. When you decide to pursue something extraordinary, you threaten their comfort. Your ambition makes them uncomfortable because it reminds them of their own unused potential. So they will discourage you, not because they're evil, but because your growth threatens their excuses, and do not hate them for it. Simply stop seeking their approval. You are not here to make them comfortable. You are here to fulfill your definite purpose. Their opinion of your dream is irrelevant. What matters is your faith in it. What matters is your willingness to persist when they say it cannot be done. I want you to make a declaration right now. Say it out loud, even if you are alone. Say, "I no longer need permission to pursue my purpose. I give myself full authority to act on my vision. I will not wait for approval. I will not seek validation. I will move forward with faith and persistence until I achieve what I have decided to achieve." Say it, mean it, and then live by it. Because the moment you stop asking for permission, everything changes. You stop hesitating. You stop second guessing. You act with authority because you have claimed your right to pursue your dreams. And when you act with authority, people respond differently. They sense your certainty. They feel your commitment, and either they support you or they get out of your way. Now, I must talk to you about finishing because this is where character is revealed. Anyone can start. Starting takes enthusiasm, and enthusiasm is easy to manufacture when something is new. But finishing requires something deeper. It requires integrity. The integrity to keep your word to yourself even when no one is watching. I've seen countless people start projects with great excitement only to abandon them when the initial thrill fades. They start businesses and quit when challenges appear. They start health programs and stop when results are slow. They start learning new skills and give up when mastery requires more effort than expected. These people live in the graveyard of unfinished potential. They have half-built dreams scattered everywhere and nothing complete to show for their efforts. Compare that to the person who finishes. When F.W. Woolworth decided to build his five-and-dime store empire, he faced failure after failure. His first stores went bankrupt. His partners abandoned him. Suppliers refused to work with him. But he had decided to succeed in retail, and he refused to quit until he had built what he envisioned. He finished. And because he finished, he built one of the largest retail empires in America. Finishing is a decision you make before you start. You say, "I will complete this no matter what obstacles appear. I will persist until I succeed or until I discover a definite plan that works better." Notice those words, "until I succeed or until I discover a better plan." You are not committing to a single method. You are committing to the goal. If one approach fails, you try another, but you do not quit. Here is the formula for finishing. First, break your large goal into smaller milestones. If your definite purpose is to build a business that generates $100,000 per year, do not focus on the full amount. Focus on generating your first $1,000, then your next $5,000, then 10. Each milestone you complete builds evidence that you are capable. That evidence becomes faith, and faith, backed by action, makes the impossible inevitable. Second, track your progress daily. Keep a journal where you record every action you take toward your goal. On difficult days, when doubt creeps in, you will open that journal and see proof that you are moving forward. That proof will give you strength to continue. Third, eliminate escape routes. Tell people about your commitment. Make it public. Invest money in your goals so that quitting becomes expensive. Burn your bridges. When you have no way back, you find a way forward. Fourth, develop the habit of completion in small things. If you start reading a book, finish it. If you start a workout, complete every rep. If you commit to waking early, do it without negotiation. These small completions train your mind to follow through. Over time, finishing becomes your identity. You become someone who does not quit. And when finishing is who you are, success is what you get. Let me give you a specific practice I learned from observing persistent people. At the end of each day, identify one thing you started but did not finish. Maybe you began writing but stopped halfway. Maybe you started organizing but left it incomplete. Whatever it is, finish it before you sleep, even if it takes 30 minutes, even if you are tired. Finish it. This practice builds the neural pathway of completion. Your brain learns that starting without finishing is not acceptable. And over time, you will find that you naturally complete what you begin because incompletion feels wrong. Now I want to address the voice of doubt because it will visit you. That voice will say, this is taking too long. You are not making progress fast enough. Maybe you should try something else. That voice is fear masquerading as reason. It is trying to pull you back to comfort. When you hear it, do not argue with it. Simply acknowledge it and continue moving forward. I learned this from Edison. When someone asked him how it felt to fail 10,000 times, he said, I have not failed. I have successfully discovered 10,000 ways that do not work. He reframed every setback as information, every failure as education. That is how persistent people think. They do not see obstacles as reasons to quit. They see obstacles as feedback that helps them adjust their approach. You must develop this mindset. When something does not work, you say, good. Now I know one way that does not work. I'm closer to discovering what does. When progress is slow, you say, the universe is testing my commitment. I will prove I am serious by continuing anyway. When others quit, you say, perfect. Less competition. More opportunity for me. This is not positive thinking. This is strategic thinking. You are training your mind to interpret circumstances in a way that supports your definite purpose instead of undermining it. You are using autosuggestion to program your subconscious to look for solutions instead of excuses. Here is something crucial I learned from studying the mastermind principle. You do not have to do this alone. In fact, you should not do it alone. Surround yourself with people who are also pursuing definite purposes, people who understand persistence, people who will hold you accountable when you feel weak and encourage you when you doubt. Carnegie had his mastermind group. Ford had his. Edison worked with brilliant minds who challenged and supported him. These alliances provided strength that no individual could generate alone. When one person felt discouraged, another lifted them up. When one person lacked knowledge, another provided it. Together, they created a force that was greater than the sum of its parts. Find your mastermind group. It might be 2 people or 10, but make sure they are aligned with growth, committed to their own definite purposes, and willing to speak truth even when it is uncomfortable. Meet regularly, share your progress, discuss your challenges, hold each other accountable. This alliance will carry you through periods when your individual strength falters. Let me give you the exact daily routine that will transform your life if you follow it with absolute consistency. This is not theory. This is the distilled wisdom of 500 successful people condensed into a practical system you can start using tomorrow morning. You wake up 1 hour earlier than you currently do. I do not care how tired you are. I do not care if you only slept 5 hours. You wake up when you said you would wake up because keeping your word to yourself is the foundation of all power. The alarm sounds, and within 5 seconds, you are on your feet. No negotiation, no snooze button, no bargaining with your mind. You rise because you commanded yourself to rise. The first 15 minutes belong to autosuggestion. You have already written your definite purpose statement. It includes the exact thing you want, the exact date you will have it, what you will give in return, and your specific plan. You read the statement aloud with emotion and conviction. You visualize yourself already in possession of your goal. You see the details. If it is money, you see the bank statement. If it is a business, you see yourself running it successfully. If it is a skill, you see yourself performing at mastery level. You make it so real that your subconscious cannot tell the difference between the visualization and reality. Then you speak your affirmations. I am persistent. I am disciplined. I am focused on my definite purpose. Obstacles make me stronger. Setbacks are temporary. Success is inevitable because I will not quit. You repeat these statements until you feel them in your body. This is not mindless repetition. This is programming. You are installing new software in your subconscious mind. After autosuggestion, you move your body. Exercise for 20 minutes. It does not matter what you do. Run, lift weights, do calisthenics. The specific activity is less important than the act of commanding your body to perform when it wants to rest. Physical discipline builds mental discipline. When you push through physical discomfort, you train your mind to push through mental discomfort. Edison walked every morning. Ford maintained physical fitness even in his later years. They understood that a strong body supports a strong mind. Next, you identify your one critical action. This is the single most important task that will move you closest to your definite purpose today. Not emails, not busy work, not urgent but unimportant tasks. The one action that truly matters. Write it down and commit to completing it before you do anything else. Eat that frog first, because if you accomplish nothing else today, you will have moved forward on what matters most. Now, here is where most people fail. They start their day with distractions. They check social media, read news, respond to messages. These activities drain your mental energy before you have invested it in your purpose. They program your subconscious with other people's priorities instead of your own. You must protect your morning. The first 3 hours after waking are your most valuable hours. Your willpower is strongest, your focus is sharpest, your creativity is highest. Do not waste these hours on trivial matters. Work on your critical action with complete focus for at least 90 minutes. No phone, no interruptions, no multitasking. Single-pointed focus on the one thing that matters. This is where progress happens, and not in scattered moments between distractions, but in concentrated blocks of deep work. When you finish this 90-minute session, you have already won the day. Everything else is bonus. Throughout the day, practice what I call the 60-second decision rule. When you know what needs to be done, you have 60 seconds to begin doing it. Not to think about it, not to plan it, to begin it. This rule eliminates procrastination. Your mind does not have time to manufacture excuses. You count to 60 and you move. This trains you to act on command rather than waiting for motivation. Here's another practice that compounds over time. Every time you complete a task, no matter how small, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, I did what I said I would do. I'm becoming who I decided to be. This positive reinforcement strengthens your identity as a finisher. Your subconscious learns that you are someone who follows through, and over time, following through becomes automatic. In the evening, before you eat dinner, review your day. Open your journal and answer these questions honestly. Did I complete my critical action? What did I learn today? What obstacle did I overcome? What will I do differently tomorrow? This review serves two purposes. First, it programs your subconscious to solve problems while you sleep. Second, it creates a record of your progress. On difficult days, you will look back at this journal and see how far you've come. Before sleep, you repeat your autosuggestion practice. Read your definite purpose statement again. Visualize your success again. Speak your affirmations again. The last thoughts before sleep are the instructions your subconscious works on most intensely. You're sending it into the night with clear commands. Find solutions, generate ideas, build faith. This routine takes 2.5 hours total. 1 hour in the morning for autosuggestion exercise and identifying your critical action. 90 minutes of focused work, 15 minutes of evening review, 15 minutes of bedtime autosuggestion, 2.5 hours to reprogram your entire life. Most people waste more time than that scrolling through meaningless content or watching entertainment that adds nothing to their growth. growth. Now, let me tell you what happens when you follow this routine with absolute consistency for 30 days. The first week is war. Your mind will rebel. You will feel tired. You will doubt whether it is working. You will want to quit. This is normal. You are breaking old patterns and installing new ones. Old habits do not die quietly. They fight back. But if you persist through this first week, you will notice something. You will start to feel stronger, not because circumstances change, but because you are changing. By the second week, the routine starts to feel less forced. Your body begins waking up more easily. Your mind produces ideas during your autosuggestion sessions. Your critical actions start getting completed faster because you are developing focus. You're building momentum. And momentum is the force that makes everything easier. By the third week, you will see tangible results, progress on your definite purpose, evidence that your efforts are working. Other people will notice something different about you. They will not be able to name it, but they will sense it. You are becoming more certain, more focused, more powerful. This evidence creates faith. And faith, as I have said, is the eternal elixir that gives life, power, and action to the impulse of thought. By the fourth week, the routine has become part of your identity. You no longer think about whether to do it. You simply do it because this is who you are now. You are a person who rises early, a person who commands their mind, a person who completes what they start. And when this identity solidifies, success becomes inevitable, not because success is easy, but because you have become the type of person for whom success is the only possible outcome. But understand this clearly. This transformation only happens if you are consistent. Missing one day might seem harmless, but it is not. Every time you break your routine, you send a message to your subconscious that your commitments are negotiable. You weaken the very foundation you're trying to build. The successful people I studied were fanatical about consistency. They did not make exceptions. They did not take days off from their purpose. They understood that consistency is the currency that buys mastery. Now let me address something that will try to stop you. Resistance. Stephen Pressfield calls it resistance. I call it the enemy within. It is that voice that whispers, "You have done enough. You can skip today. You deserve a break." This voice will appear every single day. It is not going away. The question is, will you obey it or command it? Successful people hear the same voice. Edison heard it, Ford heard it, Carnegie heard it, but they developed the ability to acknowledge the voice without obeying it. They said, "I hear you, but I have made a decision, and I'm keeping my word." That is the difference. They did not try to silence doubt. They simply refused to let doubt dictate their actions. Here is a technique I learned from studying persistent individuals. When resistance appears, when you feel the urge to quit or delay, you count backwards from 5 to 1, and then you move. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, action. This 5-second window interrupts the pattern of overthinking. Your mind does not have time to build a case for quitting. You just move, and once you're in motion, momentum takes over. Another powerful technique is what I call pre-decision. You decide in advance what you will do in specific situations. For example, you decide that when the alarm goes off, you will get up within 5 seconds. No debate, no negotiation. You have pre-decided. So when the moment comes, you do not have to use willpower to decide. You simply execute the decision you already made. This conserves mental energy and eliminates hesitation. Pre-decide everything you can. What time you will wake up, what you will do first, when you will work on your critical action, when you will exercise, what you will eat. The more you pre-decide, the less opportunity your mind has to create friction. You're not making decisions in the moment based on how you feel. You're following a plan you created when your mind was clear and focused on your definite purpose. Let me tell you about the moment that will define your entire life. It is not some distant event in the future. It is not waiting for the perfect circumstances. That moment is right now. Right now, as you hear these words, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to the life you have always lived, the same patterns, the same excuses, the same results. The other path leads to the life you have imagined but never dared to fully pursue. The life of definiteness of purpose, the life of discipline and persistence, the life of achievement. You cannot walk both paths. You must choose. And understand this clearly. Not choosing is a choice. When you delay, when you say, I will start Monday or I will begin next month, you have chosen the path of mediocrity, because mediocrity is not the absence of choice. It is the choice to avoid choosing. I have spent decades studying this moment, the moment of decision, and I've discovered that every successful person I interviewed could point to a specific moment when they stopped being one person and became another. Carnegie had his moment when he decided to dominate the steel industry. Ford had his moment when he committed to making automobiles affordable for every family. Edison had his moment when he decided to bring electric light to the world. Barnes had his moment when he stepped off that freight train at Edison's laboratory with nothing but burning desire. What made those moments different? They were not magical. There was no lightning from heaven, no voice from the clouds, just a quiet internal shift, a decision so definite that it reorganized everything that came after. These men stopped hoping things would improve and started forcing things to change. They stopped asking permission and started taking authority. They stopped planning to begin, and they began. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not after you have prepared more, not when you feel ready, now, because you will never feel completely ready. Readiness is not a feeling. It is a decision followed by action. You decide you are ready, and then you prove it by moving. Here's what I want you to do immediately after you finish listening to these words. Take out a piece of paper. At the top, write these words, my definite purpose. Then answer these questions with complete honesty. What do I want? Write the specific thing. Not, I want to be successful. That is too vague. Write, I want to build a business that generates $50,000 in profit within 12 months. Or I want to master public speaking and deliver paid presentations within 6 months. Or I want to eliminate all consumer debt within 18 months. Make it specific, make it measurable, make it real. Next, write, what am I willing to give in return? Nothing comes without cost. Edison gave years of his life and countless failures. Ford gave his reputation and faced ridicule. Carnegie gave his youth, working longer hours than anyone around him. What will you give? Time, comfort, entertainment? Write it down. Be specific. I will give 2 hours every morning before work. I will give up social media for 6 months. I will invest 10% of my income in learning and tools. Define the price you will pay. Next, write, by what date will I achieve this? Not someday, a specific date, month, day, year. This deadline creates urgency. It activates your subconscious to organize around a timeline. Without a deadline, your goal remains a wish. With a deadline, it becomes a commitment. Then write my plan of action. List the specific steps you will take. If you want to build a business, your steps might include research market demand, identify target customers, create product or service, test with 10 potential buyers, refine based on feedback, launch publicly. If you want to master a skill, your steps might include study the fundamentals, practice daily for 90 minutes, find a mentor, perform in front of small audiences, seek feedback, improve. Your plan does not need to be perfect. It needs to be specific enough to begin. Finally, sign it, date it, read it aloud with emotion. Feel yourself already in possession of what you want. See yourself living as the person who has achieved this goal. What does that person wear? How do they speak? How do they carry themselves? Become that person in your imagination first, because your subconscious cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This document you have just created is not a wish list. It is a contract with yourself. It is your definite purpose statement. And starting tomorrow morning, you will read it twice daily. Once before you sleep, once when you wake. You will read it with feeling, with faith, with absolute conviction. And as you read it day after day, something extraordinary will happen. Your actions will begin to align with your purpose. Automatically, opportunities you never noticed will appear. People who can help you will enter your life. Ideas will flow. Why? Because you have given your subconscious mind clear instructions, and it is now working 24 hours a day to make your purpose real. But let me warn you about something. The moment you make this commitment, resistance will attack. Your old habits will fight to survive. Your comfort zone will scream for you to return. People around you will question your decisions. Circumstances will test your resolve. This is guaranteed. It happened to every person I studied. It will happen to you. When Edison committed to creating the light bulb, his laboratory burned down. Years of work destroyed in a single night. He could have quit. Anyone would have understood. Instead, he said, "Thank God all our mistakes were burned up. So now we can start fresh." That is the mindset of persistence backed by definite purpose. Setbacks become setups for greater success. When Ford introduced the assembly line, workers rebelled. They said it was dehumanizing. Competitors said it would fail. Investors pulled out. But Ford had made a decision, and no amount of opposition could move him. He persisted, and his persistence revolutionized manufacturing and created wealth beyond imagination. When Carnegie decided to dominate steel, he faced competitors with more money, more connections, more resources, but he had something they did not have: burning desire combined with organized planning and relentless persistence. He outworked them. He outthought them. He refused to be defeated, and he built an empire that shaped America. You have the same power they had. You are made of the same material. Your mind has the same capabilities. The only difference between you and the people who have achieved great things is that they decided to use their power, and you have not yet. But that changes today. That changes right now. I want you to understand something profound about failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of success. Every person who achieved something significant failed repeatedly before they succeeded, but they reframed failure as education. When something did not work, they did not see it as evidence that they should quit. They saw it as information about what does not work, bringing them closer to discovering what does. You will fail. You will make mistakes. You will face rejection. You will experience setbacks. This is not a possibility. It is a certainty. But here is what you must understand. These experiences only become failures if you quit, if you persist, if you learn from them, if you adjust your approach and continue moving forward. They transform into stepping stones. They become the foundation of your eventual success. So when you fail, and you will, say this: this is temporary. This is education. This brings me closer to my goal. I am learning what does not work so I can discover what does. I will adjust my plan, and I will continue. That simple reframe, repeated consistently through autosuggestion, will make you unstoppable. Now, I want to speak directly to the part of you that is afraid. The part that says, what if I try and fail? What if I am not capable? What if people laugh at me? That voice is fear. And fear is nothing but faith in reverse. When you fear failure, you are having faith that you will fail. You are using the same mental mechanism that creates success, but you are using it to create failure instead. Here is what you must do with fear. Acknowledge it. Do not pretend it is not there. Say, yes, I am afraid. I am afraid I might fail. I am afraid I might be rejected. I'm afraid I might discover I'm not as capable as I hoped. Acknowledge the fear and then say, but I am going to act anyway because my purpose is more important than my comfort. My vision is more powerful than my fear. I will move forward not because I am fearless, but because I'm committed. That is courage, not the absence of fear, but action in the presence of fear. And every time you act despite fear, you weaken fear's power over you. You train your mind that fear is not a stop sign. It is simply a sensation. And sensations cannot stop someone with a definite purpose. Let me share with you one final principle that ties everything together: the mastermind. You do not have to do this alone. In fact, attempting to do it alone is foolish. Every successful person surrounds themselves with other minds that complement their weaknesses and amplify their strengths. Carnegie had a mastermind alliance of over 20 men. Each brought specific knowledge, skills, and perspectives. Together, they achieved what none of them could have achieved individually. Find your mastermind group. It might be 2 people, it might be 5, but choose them carefully. They must be people who are also pursuing definite purposes, people who understand persistence and discipline, people who will tell you the truth even when it is uncomfortable, people who will hold you accountable when you feel weak, and celebrate with you when you win. Meet with this group regularly, weekly if possible. Share your progress, discuss your challenges, learn from each other's experiences. This alliance will provide strength when your individual strength falters. It will provide ideas when you are stuck. It will provide accountability when you feel tempted to quit. The mastermind principle is one of the most powerful forces for achievement I have ever studied. And now we come to the end, but it is not really the end. It is the beginning. Everything I have shared with you, every principle, every technique, every story, it all means nothing unless you act. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is only potential power. It becomes power when it is organized into definite plans and expressed through persistent action. You now know what successful people do. You know about definiteness of purpose. You know about autosuggestion and programming your subconscious. You know about discipline, persistence, and the willingness to face discomfort. And you know about finishing what you start and refusing to seek permission. You know about the daily routine that transforms lives. You have everything you need. The question is, will you use it? I cannot make you succeed. No one can. Success is an inside job. It starts with a decision that only you can make. A decision so definite that it burns away every excuse, every doubt, every escape route. A decision that says, I will achieve my purpose or I will die trying. That might sound dramatic, but that is the level of commitment required for extraordinary achievement. Casual commitment produces casual results. Total commitment produces extraordinary results. You must decide which one you want. So here's my challenge to you. Starting tomorrow morning, follow the routine I gave you for 30 consecutive days. No exceptions, no excuses. 30 days of waking early, practicing autosuggestion, completing your critical action, and reviewing your progress. 30 days of acting despite fear, persisting through discomfort, and finishing what you start. Just 30 days. If you do this, I guarantee you will not be the same person at the end of those 30 days. You will have built new neural pathways. You will have proven to yourself that you can keep commitments. You will have made tangible progress on your definite purpose. And you will have developed the most valuable asset any person can possess, faith in yourself. But if you cannot commit to 30 days, then you have not truly decided. You are still wishing, and wishing never built anything worth having. So make the decision. Write your definite purpose statement tonight. Set your alarm for tomorrow morning. And when that alarm sounds, get up within 5 seconds and begin your transformation. The world is waiting for what only you can create. Your definite purpose is not just about you. It is about the people you will serve, the problems you will solve, the value you will create. When you achieve your purpose, you lift others with you. When you fail to pursue it, the world loses something it needs. You were not created to live a mediocre life. You were not designed to simply exist, to take up space, to go through the motions. You have within you infinite potential. The same intelligence that created galaxies and orchestrates the seasons lives within your mind. The same force that grew you from a single cell into a complex human being is available to help you achieve your definite purpose. You are connected to infinite intelligence. You have access to unlimited power. The only question is, will you use it? I have given you the tools. I have shown you the path. I have shared the principles that created the greatest achievements in human history. Now it is your turn. Now it is your moment. Now is when you stop being who you were and become who you are meant to be. Decide, act, persist, finish, and success will be as inevitable as the sunrise. I believe in you. Now it is time for you to believe in yourself.